Well, it's like saying, why a Wills or a Mango when you had a Shoppers Stop? I think Fashionandyou is a retailer. It's a retail platform, whereas Freecultr is a fashion brand, and it's just that it's unlike most brands which were born in the offline space and now are trying to do something in the online space. Freecultr is a fashion brand which is born itself on the online space, and I wish and I hope that we are able to make it a global brand, and I think it's only internet which allows us to do that. If you look at it, there is no business which does not have an independent, dedicated management as well. So it's a very two-layered management structure. So let's say if we have Fashionandyou, we've got a Pearl there. For BeStylish, we've got a Shay there. For Freecultr, we've got Sujal and Sandy there. So for every business, we've got 2-3 co-founders who are fully entrenched 100% into that business. So it works very well because I think I am able to balance out learnings across the portfolio, create a lot of leverage, whereas the second layer of the management is fully focused. And Smile, I don't know whether you're aware of it or not, we have Smile is the co-founder for this global incubator called SpringStar, and we have similar incubation offices in Berlin and Sao Paulo and a lot of other emerging markets. And most of the business models that we're doing here are actually, we're doing the same models in those geographies as well. So I also am able to, a lot of times, because those markets sometimes are ahead of us in terms of timing of launch or in terms of maturity of the business, I'm able to get those businesses in. Talent, I would say, is like one area where I'm contributing a lot. So I think it's so far working well. I have a lot of respect for Kishore Miani, but I don't know what exactly he did. Like when I said, of course everyone knows what he did, but I don't know exactly what his passion was. I can tell you what I have been doing, and that has been there since 1999, since I started. So I think Smile has always been the platform for, I would say, soft landing into entrepreneurship in the digital space. And it's just that of late there's so much of e-commerce which has been happening that we're being seen a lot into e-commerce. But if you look at the first wave of our portfolio, it has been more digital media rather, right? So whether you look at Quasar, Blazar, Squad in Africa, Tyru, so we've been very, very highly invested in. Even today, I think we have probably the most interesting portfolio in the media space as well. Why e-commerce of late? My personal passion always was e-commerce, and I fundamentally always believed that commerce drives advertising, not advertising driving commerce. So I think one of the reasons why digital media was also not really taking off in India was because there was very little commerce which was happening, and digital media companies were highly reliant on the spends of traditional companies, right, who were taking their own slow time adopting digital as a medium, as against pure internet companies which are highly dependent on digital media platforms from day one. So I think because I always believed that commerce drives advertising, and finally when the inflection point came, when the customers actually started to buy, we've kind of started running fast, and we are trying to cover as much ground as possible. And I think that's also going to, it is further going to help a lot our media portfolio as well. No, it's not a college. We don't charge any fee, but we don't give any certificates. So I don't know when you say institution, whether it is or not. But yeah, I think the dream from day one was to create a platform for entrepreneurship. And the one line which I used to say was that how can we create a platform which is soft landing into entrepreneurship? And I think we've sort of achieved that very well. It's just that, like any other organization, there is one face to the company, and when things go right, he gets overcredited. When things go wrong, he's overkilled. So I think that's just happening in case of Smile because I founded it. But I think there's a complete ecosystem which we have here, where most of the people who are, I would say the top layer of the people here, and when I say top, I don't mean seniority, are interesting entrepreneurial people. There's a lot of sharing. It's the culture, what we are probably proud about, that it's sort of infectious. That like I have, it's a very interesting thing I'm going to tell you. All my direct reportees are people who have joined me with a salary cut. I don't have a single direct reportee who's taken an increment and joined us. And it's kind of, it's not that they're bad people. I think they're all great people with like highly wanted. But the reason why they've sort of joined us, whether it is their on EIR, which is the Entrepreneur in Residence program, or co-founders into the business, is because they see this as a platform for entrepreneurship, which has a lot of, I would say, energy, a lot of support in terms of living resources, non-living resources, a lot of culture for entrepreneurship. And I think it's kind of become a it's a self-growing thing. It's not that I have to now do a lot for it. It's just that we have a bunch of interesting people and everyone is doing something, and it's becoming more and more interesting every day. It's a very proud look. I would be most happy and most excited if every partner, every entrepreneur who started with us always stays with us, not for just one venture, maybe after his first venture, second venture, third venture. But I don't think we have the culture where if somebody wants to go and do something all alone in his second venture and wants to set up something great, we mind that. We actually like it, we feel proud about it. So if, let's say, you were with us and you and me created a business which was successful, and then we created liquidity for ourselves, and tomorrow you set up another venture which is really big, I think at Smile we feel proud about it, right? And we have few cases like that. So it's I think what we are passionate about is about entrepreneurship. What we are passionate about is about winning. I really don't care how that's happening, or are you with us, without us, because it's finally it's a fun place. It's a one big family. Look, I think the reason why it's not just Smile. I think a lot of companies have raised a lot of money in the recent past, right? So, and the reason for that is that the long-term fundamentals for e-commerce in this country are really, really strong, right? More like, one, because everywhere e-commerce has proven itself, and two, I think in India the growth of organized physical retail itself has been it's at such a tiny stage that even today the organized retail is such a tiny percentage of the overall retail that it's going to take donkey years for physical infrastructure to set up and go into every small nook and town of the country, right? So I think I personally think that the digital infrastructure will move a lot faster, and though the first wave of adoption is value-based commerce, it's finally going to be access and convenience which are going to be the long-term drivers. So I think those reasons, with the size of our market, I think that's what drives a lot of VC interest. Long-term, I think as entrepreneurs, I will want to caution myself, I would want to caution all my co-colleagues. I think it's important that we all run fast and try and do a land grab of market share, but I think where this market has an extra level of challenge than other mature markets is building a path to profitability. So I think that's the only thing that I am now trying to focus on, and I would expect all our industry colleagues are also focusing on the same thing.
What do you feel about listing?
Look, almost all e-commerce companies in India, including the complete portfolio that we at Smile have, are largely investor supported, and because it is a capital hungry segment, and I don't think professional entrepreneurs like us have the ability to keep funding them for the lifetime, for our own lifetime of the business. So, and when you get professional venture money, you do not have any option but to make sure that you are able to take those assets into some sort of liquidity, right? And there are only two kinds of liquidity. Either you are liquid through an M&A route where someone comes and buys you, or you create liquidity by going public. Now with the exciting valuations and the big check sizes that people are raising right now, you know, so if someone raises money at $200 million, someone is raising money at $300 million, you know, it basically means that even if you give 3 to 4x returns minimum, you know, ideally your investors would expect you to give more returns than that. You're typically talking of creating billion-dollar exits, and if you have to create billion-dollar exits, then I think there are very few people in the world who would be willing to come and write a single check of $1 billion plus to buy an Indian e-commerce player. You know, I'm not saying that there is nobody, but you won't have a lot of them. So, but there are a lot of big companies which are coming out like that. So I think the most likely path for the market leaders in each of the e-commerce categories in India is going to be going IPO route. Not really, because I think all these businesses are independent businesses with separate management, separate investors.
So will you look for a separate fundraising at the top level?
Not right now, and I think Smile is not synonym to e-commerce. Smile is synonym to entrepreneurship in the digital space, and that's what we want to continue to be doing. You know, so it's not that just because our last 4 or 5 ventures have been pure e-commerce ventures does not mean that before that we've done only e-commerce, or after now we'll only do e-commerce, right?
Okay, and what are the challenges you see for e-commerce going forward?
I think creating paths to profitability for these businesses is going to be one challenge, and the second challenge is going to be to activate a huge number of to do mass activation of consumers who are today not there on digital mediums. So I think these are the two big challenges that I see, that, you know, today at the end of it we are a small percentage of the population which is digital. How fast, because all successful e-commerce or internet companies in India have created internet users, right? So when an IRCTC happened, a lot of people adopted internet because of IRCTC, because they wanted to book an railway ticket is the reason they adopted internet. And I think how successfully e-commerce companies will be able to do this, that how many, let's say if I'm Fashionandyou, then how many women adopted internet as a medium and did their first transaction because of the merchandise or because of the reason that Fashionandyou created is going to be big. Because if this industry remains restricted to the numbers that we have today, or it keeps growing only at the notional 20% year on year, 30% year on year, then it's a very long term cycle. So I think at some stage there has to be disruption. And second, I think for e-commerce, because in India, unlike the more mature markets where the average selling price or the average order values in dollar terms are much higher than what India operates at, and thus it creates smaller gross margins and smaller contribution margins, I think building businesses with cost bases which have higher path to profitability is going to be very, very crucial for India. So I think from a formats perspective, I see subscription based commerce models, you know, the next wave being of subscription based commerce models, or models which are more hybrid models of offline retail and online retail. So these are the two things with the trends or patterns that I see emerging in other markets, and I see as a pattern that they should hit us also pretty fast. From mediums, I would say you know, convergence of any sort of digital retail, whether it is internet, mobile, kiosk, television, is something where the market is headed. You know, I don't think these things should depress us, right? Because look at the Silicon Valley, right? You know, for every one successful company, how many failures are there? So it's I think if this is how human beings thought, today we will still be living in Stone Age, right? For every successful invention or every successful thing that happened, there were like many unsuccessful trials as well. So if you are worried about, I don't think as a media journalist covering the industry, you care about one company getting like dying or one company becoming very successful. I think as a consumer or as a trade journalist, all you care about is this sector true? Is this space true? Is this going to be big? And for sure, this is going to be big, right? Maybe one company, a few companies will go. I think it will fall into three buckets, right? One is that one set of companies will go into insolvency or over time, like they will probably have no option but to shut down. One set of companies will have no option but to consolidate and create bigger entities by joining few smaller entities, or one bigger entity taking care of folding in a smaller entity, or few smaller entities putting together to create a bigger entity. And then third will be like the category killers, will be like really big. So I think that's for sure, that's inevitable, that's going to happen, right? So if one company shuts down, the thing really doesn't change the fundamentals of our industry. It's just that yes, we are not a venture capital firm, pure play venture capital firm, but we don't mind investing into our own ventures. But I think and as I would say, we have supported a lot of our companies. Most of our companies have got the seed money from us only, right? Both in cash and kind. So I don't see that, but yeah, I think our business is different, and I would not want to confuse ourselves by calling ourselves VCs, because we partner with venture firms. All the tier 1 venture firms actually partner with us very closely, and we bring a very different sauce to the whole recipe, and it's something which is unique that we've been able to create. We are the bridge between the entrepreneurs and the venture capitalists. We are a platform for entrepreneurship and whatever it takes to keep that platform alive. And I think a little bit of investment is also an inherent ingredient of that platform. We'll give you a press release very soon.